What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another GameStop Fortnite clinic. And today we're going to be talking about the early game of every Fortnite match. And being able to have a really strong early game can set the tone for pretty much your whole rest of your match. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of safer drops, maybe some more hot drops, kind of how you can play them, and what your overall strategy is for the earlier parts of a Fortnite match. So landing safe or hot are completely different games, even though you're in the same Fortnite Battle Royale match. If you're landing hot, you're going to be fighting more players, you're going to be getting more eliminations, and just having more engagements in general. If you land safe, you're going to be having a lot less, aggression. You're going to be engaging with a lot less players, looting up and playing more for the late game and just trying to go for the win. I recommend dropping hot if you're a new player because you should be trying to get in those engagements, learn how to fight other players, learn how to build battle, and practice those mechanics and try to get better in that sense. Because in all of Fortnite, you're gonna always have to fight the last player in order to get the win. So if you're gonna be landing hot, I recommend that you definitely should be dropping on a gun, preferably a shotgun if you can. Just drop on one and get that out of the way, and don't chance yourself of not having a gun if you're not as lucky in that specific match. Maybe if you're trying to go for a hidden chest, off your drop, that chest doesn't spawn, you no longer have a gun, you're kind of out in the open and somebody can finish you off very easily. When landing in a hot drop, you're going to be basically competing with other players to get into a very high loot area faster than they are, so your drop is going to be extremely important whenever you're doing that. The key to dropping in all scenarios, not just hot drops, is that you want to drop over somewhere that has a very low elevation. So stuff like ditches, bottom of hills as opposed to the top of hills, and mountains, you don't want to drop over a mountain. And that's going to basically allow your character to be closer to the ground before he is forced to pull out his glider. And then you're able to basically get to a gun faster than another player. Say there's a pump shotgun where 3 players are going for it. If you have the best drop of those 3 players, you'll get the gun first, and that's really important. Maybe you can get a quick elimination off the start, and then you'll be starting off with 50 shield as you eliminate that player, and then you'll have 150 mats that player drops as well. So it can be very useful to be able to control your drop. Outside of that, it's really important that you land on a gun. It's really important that you land on a shotgun if you can, but if not, just land on whatever gun you see, because you want to have a weapon if you do fight someone off spawn, as opposed to chancing it and looking for guns that you don't quite see yet because you might be unlucky that game. So we just jumped into a solo match, and I'm actually going to be hot dropping this one. We're going to be trying to fight as many enemies as possible. So the very first point of interest that I see on this bus path is actually going to be Frosty Flights. So I'm going to immediately drop, and I'm going to be looking for the lowest elevation to get towards so that I can actually glide. I like the lowest possible point, and I can get to the guns and the chests and everything first. So I think this is probably going to be the best spot. For elevation, you can see it's like kind of down a cliff a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and land on the blue marker right here, and then start gliding, and I'm gonna immediately get towards the main part of Frosty Flights, which is gonna be this big open area, right? Looking around, trying to see if there's anyone here. I don't currently see anyone. Oh, I see one other person, so I know I'm fighting someone right off the bat. I see a blue pump. Oh God. Pick up this pump right here. And be sure to get the kill right there. Obviously, I was just trying to go for as much aggression as possible, and then that player was too. He was trying to basically finish me off with his gray pistol, and that's the only gun he had. He was hoping that I didn't have a gun quite yet, but he did. So now that I have my point of interest pretty much solidified, no one else is around me, I'm just gonna be looking for loot, just try to get as much shield as possible, get everything all stacked up, ready to go. Got a slurp and an extra mini. Then we're going to be finishing up looting, and then we'll rotate into a hotter area and look for either fights if possible. If not, we'll just be looking for the win. Oh, I hear a player. I'm gonna drive the baller to him, keep myself safe for now. There it is. Boogie bomb him right away. Line up the shot. Hit him for 130 and then finish him off right there. Nice, we got a gold pump out of that. And since I'm in zone, like, you always have to think about, do you have to leave your point of interest? Are you farmed up? Like, do you have all the loot from the point of interest? Are there other areas that you could maybe look for loot? And right here, I didn't loot this upper part, and I noticed that nobody else did. So I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna farm these rocks, try to get as much materials as I can. I'm sitting at about 400 right now, which isn't too bad. And I'm just gonna keep looking for loot. I don't have to go fight anyone right now, so I'm not going to. All right, so now that I've pretty much looted everything up, all I have to do is slowly rotate with my baller. I can be very slow, or it can be as fast as I want to. There's only 33 people left alive in this lobby, so that means I'm not gonna have to fight as many people. So now for this very first part of the very first part of the zone, like I have 3 kills already. I've got pretty much all the loot that I need. Really all I'm trying to do is just box up with a turtle base. I've got my baller inside of it so that I can easily rotate with that vehicle whenever the next circle shows up. We have a minute and a half left of this first zone, and then we're gonna go immediately to the second zone. And if your strategy is to not go for eliminations and not go for as many engagements as possible, you just wanna go for the victory royale, it's better to land safer and maybe a spot that doesn't quite have a name but still has loot around it. So if you land in that safe spot, maybe you're the only one that drops there. The idea and philosophy behind that is that you want to basically get as much loot as you can, maybe get some shield, and then be able to farm up some mats and just kind of rotate around the map and play with the storms and avoid other players and just be safe so that you don't have to spend your resources, and then you can use those resources in the later parts of the game to be able to close out the victory. So while you're dropping, it's really important that you look around, just take a second to understand where other players are dropping in that point of interest. If you're in Tilted Towers, for example, understand which buildings people are in and which buildings they're not in. This will enable a few things for you. You'll know what people are going to be trying to fight you. If say some guy lands on your building, you're gonna want to know that that person landed in your building with you so that you can be ready to fight right off the bat. And if there is no one around you, then be sure to farm up, farm some walls, farm whatever you can in order, furniture or whatever, in order to get some quick mats just to sustain like the next few minutes of your gameplay so that you're able to build if somebody shoots you first and you can react well and you have more resources to work with. And all in all, if you have won your POI, you cleared out Tilted Towers, you got 5 or 6 eliminations, you're good to go. Just make sure you're maxed out on mats, make sure you have a couple bits of shield, the loadout that you're looking for, maybe a shotgun, an SMG, and an assault rifle. And then once you're ready to go, you rotate out for the mid game. All right, so for this game, I'm actually gonna be doing a very safe drop where I'm not gonna be looking to fight any other players. And here I'll be sacrificing having a lot of loot, basically for safety and avoiding all possible engagements with other players. So I'm gonna drop in this spot. It's not actually a named point of interest. It has some loot there and it has decent materials. There might be a baller nearby. And what my goal is basically to just land somewhere without any other players. And then outside of that, I will be looting up, I'll be farming up a little bit, and then I'll be rotating into the first circle wherever it is and try to get into the center of it. Which obviously like landing safe versus like landing at Tilted Towers is gonna be a lot less loot, but there'll still be enough to where you can like safely get through your early game situation. It's always good to farm a ton whenever you're in a safe drop because it's possible that you might be stuck in an engagement where like you're gonna need mats to be able to fight the other player. So try to farm as much as you can whenever you're in a safe spot. It's a really good opportunity to, like, whenever you have that time free, to be able to farm up and be good to go. I like to prioritize looting before farming, but that's me. And then as you can see, the zone is actually on the southwest side of the map towards Polar Peak. So the center part of the zone is actually gonna be on Polar Peak. So that's gonna be my goal, is like getting over in that area for when the second circle is there. What's really nice about safe drops is that even if you don't get the night, like a very good amount of loot right off the bat, you can actually like find loot along the way. There's a lot of like scattered chests throughout the map. Maybe there's like one chest here, one chest there. You can always like find something. So right there, I just got shield off of just like a 2 chest spawn, and I'm gonna redeploy farther into the zone and just like look to get as close as I can to the next zone before it spawns. I mean, I've only opened probably 5, 6 chests this game, and as you can see, I've got a chug jug, a golden pump, a golden assault rifle, and 3 stinks and redeploy. So I'm pretty much set for the mid game. So all you gotta do now is just rotate in. We're gonna try to get to Polar Peak, use as much like natural mobility as you can, whether that's a geyser, which isn't really in this like map or part of the map, but there's some north of me. You can go try to find cannons where you can cannon yourself in. You can use drift boards, quads, all sorts of different types of vehicles, whatever gets you there faster, or you can just use a redeploy and just redeploy in safely. So I can see that there's a player north of me at the Fatal Fields house. So I'm just gonna avoid him. The point of landing safe is to avoid engagements. I've got a bunch of really good loot, so I'm just gonna rotate in and enter the mid game. And no matter what your strategy is, whether you're dropping safe or you're dropping hot, it's really important that you get those loadouts that you're looking for and able to close out the game. This is just the early game, so you're gonna want to be able to close out the win and make sure you're focused on that right after you have completed your early game strategy. But beyond that, what I see people doing is that they drop in one point of interest or one spot every single game. They repeat that, and whether they're going for eliminations or they're not, they stick to that game plan, and then they just repeat that over and over and over to get better at what they're trying to do. For me personally, I actually drop Tilted Towers pretty much every game for like 1,000 games and just try to get really good at fighting people so that I could translate those skills and those mechanics pretty much into every other game plan that I had. And that's how I improved and I went pro. So I hope this helps you, and we'll see you all next time.